This is Chapter 47 of Following the Equator. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Following the Equator by Mark Twain, Chapter 47. Thugs, continued. Record of murders. A joy of hunting and killing men. Gordon Cumming. Killing an elephant. Family affection among thugs. Burial places. Simple rules for saving money. To save half, when you are fired by an eager impulse to contribute to a charity, wait and count 40. To save three-quarters, count 60. To save it all, count 65. Pudd'nhead Wilson's New Calendar. The Thug said, "How many of you English are passionately devoted to sporting! Your days and months are passed in its excitement. A tiger, a panther, a buffalo, or a hog rouses your utmost energies for its destruction. You even risk your lives in its pursuit. How much higher game is a Thug's?" That must really be the secret of the rise and development of Thuggee. The joy of killing. The joy of seeing killing done. These are traits of the human race at large. We white people are merely modified thugs. Thugs fretting under the restraints of a not very thick skin of civilization. Thugs who long ago enjoyed the slaughter of the Roman arena, and later the burning of doubtful Christians by authentic Christians in the public squares, and who now, with the thugs of Spain and Nimes, flock to enjoy the blood and misery of the bull-ring. We have no tourists of either sex or any religion who are able to resist the delights of the bull-ring when opportunity offers. And we are gentle thugs in the hunting season, and love to chase a tame rabbit and kill it. Still, we have made some progress, microscopic, and in truth scarcely worth mentioning, and certainly nothing to be proud of. Still, it is progress. We no longer take pleasure in slaughtering or burning helpless men. We have reached a little altitude where we may look down upon the Indian thugs with a complacent shudder, and we may even hope for a day, many centuries hence, when our posterity will look down upon us in the same way. There are many indications that the Thug often hunted men for the mere sport of it, that the fright and pain of the quarry were no more to him than are the fright and pain of the rabbit or the stag to us, and that he was no more ashamed of beguiling his game with deceits and abusing its trust than are we when we have imitated a wild animal's call and shot it when it honored us with its confidence and came to see what we wanted. Madara, son of Nihal, and I, Ramzan, set out from Kotdi in the cold weather and followed the high road for about 20 days in search of travelers, until we came to Selempur, where we met a very old man going to the east. We won his confidence in this manner. He carried a load which was too heavy for his old age. I said to him, "You are an old man. I will aid you in carrying your load, as you are from my part of the country." He said, "Very well, take me with you." So we took him with us to Selempur, where we slept that night. We woke him next morning before dawn and set out, and at the distance of 3 miles we seated him to rest while it was still very dark. Madara was ready behind him, and strangled him. He never spoke a word. He was about 60 or 70 years of age. Another gang fell in with a couple of barbers, and persuaded them to come along in their company by promising them the job of shaving the whole crew, 30 thugs. At the place appointed for the murder, 15 got shaved, and actually paid the barbers for their work, then killed them and took back the money. A gang of 42 thugs came across 2 Brahmins and a shopkeeper on the road, beguiled them into a grove, and got up a concert for their entertainment. While these poor fellows were listening to the music, the stranglers were standing behind them, and at the proper moment for dramatic effect they applied the noose. The most devoted fisherman must have a bite at least as often as once a week, or his passion will cool, and he will put up his tackle. The tiger sportsman must find a tiger at least once a fortnight, or he will get tired and quit. The elephant hunter's enthusiasm will waste away little by little, and his zeal will perish at last if he plod around a month without finding a member of that noble family to assassinate. But when the lust in the hunter's heart is for the noblest of all quarries, man, how different is the case! and how watery and poor is the zeal, and how childish the endurance of those other hunters by comparison. Then neither hunger, nor thirst, nor fatigue, nor deferred hope, nor monotonous disappointment, nor leaden-footed lapse of time can conquer the hunter's patience, or weaken the joy of his quest, or cool the splendid rage of his desire. Of all the hunting passions that burn in the breast of man, there is none that can lift him superior to discouragements like these but the one, the royal sport, the supreme sport, whose quarry is his brother. By comparison, tiger hunting is a colorless poor thing, for all it has been so bragged about. Why, the Thug was content to tramp patiently along, afoot, in the wasting heat of India, week after week, at an average of 9 or 10 miles a day, if he might but hope to find game some time or other and refresh his longing soul with blood. Here is an instance. I, Ramzan, and Hyder set out for the purpose of strangling travelers from Gudipur, and proceeded via the fort of Jalalabad, Nawulgunji, Bangarmo, on the banks of the Ganges, upwards of 100 miles, from whence we returned by another route. Still no travelers, till we reached Bawanigunji, where we fell in with a traveler, a boatman. We inveigled him, and about 2 miles east of there Hyder strangled him as he stood, for he was troubled and afraid, and would not sit. We then made a long journey, about 130 miles, and reached Husunpur Bundwa, where at the tank we fell in with a traveler. He slept there that night. Next morning we followed him and tried to win his confidence. At the distance of 2 miles we endeavored to induce him to sit down, but he would not, having become aware of us. I attempted to strangle him as he walked along, but did not succeed. Both of us then fell upon him. He made a great outcry, "They are murdering me!" At length we strangled him and flung his body into a well. After this we returned to our homes, having been out a month and traveled about 260 miles. A total of 2 men murdered on the expedition. And here is another case related by the terrible Futi Khan, a man with a tremendous record, to be rementioned by and by. I, with 3 others, traveled for about 45 days a distance of about 200 miles in search of victims along the highway to Bundwa, and returned by Davodpur, another 200 miles, during which journey we had only 1 murder, which happened in this manner. 4 miles to the east of Nobustagat we fell in with a traveler, an old man. I, with Koshal and Hyder, inveigled him and accompanied him that day within 3 miles of Rampur, where, after dark, in a lonely place, we got him to sit down and rest. And while I kept him in talk, seated before him, Hyder behind strangled him. He made no resistance. Koshal stabbed him under the arms and in the throat, and we flung the body into a running stream. We got about 4 or 5 rupees each, $2 or $2.50. We then proceeded homewards, a total of 1 man murdered on this expedition. There. They tramped 400 miles, were gone about 3 months, and harvested $2.50 apiece. But the mere pleasure of the hunt was sufficient. That was pay enough. They did no grumbling. Every now and then in this big book one comes across that pathetic remark, "We tried to get him to sit down, but he would not." It tells the whole story. Some accident had awakened the suspicion in him that these smooth friends who had been petting and coddling him and making him feel so safe and so fortunate after his forlorn and lonely wanderings were the dreaded Thugs, and now their ghastly invitation to "sit and rest" had confirmed its truth. He knew there was no help for him, and that he was looking his last upon earthly things, but he would not sit. No, not that. It was too awful to think of. There are a number of instances which indicate that when a man had once tasted the regal joys of man-hunting, he could not be content with the dull monotony of a crimeless life afterward. Example from a Thug's testimony: we passed through to Kurnaul, where we found a former Thug named Janua, an old comrade of ours, who had turned religious mendicant and become a disciple and holy. He came to us in the Serai, and weeping with joy returned to his old trade. Neither wealth nor honors nor dignities could satisfy a reformed Thug for long. he would throw them all away some day and go back to the lurid pleasures of hunting